I hope that everyone here has heard of the Extended Specimen Network. I won't drone on about it, but I want to point out that it calls for digitization and links with associated extended data. It also states that creating the network will be a monumental effort, with a focus on digital and human infrastructure rather than physical infrastructure, which will make the magnitude of the effort required to build and sustain it harder to comprehend. Why harder to comprehend? When we pay someone to create or improve a digital asset, there is no telescope or large hadron collider we can stand next to for a photo op or build a visitor center for. What is often overlooked is that we create something far more accessible. Perhaps if we viewed our digital assets as an extension of Wikipedia, it would be more clear. One thing we need to make sure everyone understands is that this digital infrastructure requires people to build and, more importantly, to maintain it. Although the Extended Specimen Network is based in technology, we have to remember that tech is just a tool. It takes time and dedicated people to populate a database worth searching. Programs can seem like magic, but they are written by people, and mistakes can be made that persist until corrected by people. If any of you attended my talk in New Zealand, you will remember that scripts to correct data at iDigBio were changing birds into beetles. This is still true today. In a recent GBIF meeting, participants lamented that their ability to retain skilled programmers was hampered because skilled programmers are paid more elsewhere. I have a feeling this contributes to the bird-beetle problem as well. People are our greatest asset. We need to pay them appropriately if we have any hope of constructing the Extended Specimen Network. But we also have to listen to the communities we serve to ensure the Extended Specimen Network serves them. I've organized this talk around some short readings that I think could help us all present our need to be part of the ESN and how participation requires quality data and appropriate funding, but can also lead to mission-driven outcomes and greater community engagement. Some of these readings may seem way out of a collection manager's wheelhouse, but I'll do my best to show you their relevance and how you can use them to start conversations with others that might lead you closer to creating your own node on the Extended Specimen Network, with quality data linked to the rest of the world. In addition to these explicit suggestions, there are some less obvious suggested readings sprinkled in, because I truly believe we all aren't reading enough. Unlocking Success in Digital Transformation is a McKinsey & Company Insights report on the success or not of digital transformations. I'll loosely define digital transformation from the article as one of the following: digitizing the organization's operating model, the launch of a new product or service, or creating an interaction with external partners through digital channels. Given this, the efforts which we have been engaged in natural history collections definitely seem like a digital transformation. Consider how a discussion of this report might go with a board member, a significant donor, or your director. The results summarized in the report demonstrate the difficulty of digital transformations, with less than 16% of them being reported as successful, which means they successfully improve performance and also equip the organization to sustain changes in the long term. The report points out that failures have less to do with technology and more to do with managing the cultural and organizational challenges that a technological shift creates. It's relatively easy to find a vendor that can implement a system for you, but much harder to prepare your organization to adapt to new technology, and that the involvement of key people leads to a greater probability of success. I believe that what we are discussing with the Extended Specimen Network is a digital transformation, and that some of the issues we face are issues because we have not included organizational leadership or, frankly, anyone outside of collections in our plans. If digital transformations require cultural and behavioral changes, I ask you, what key employees are or were involved in your collections data management decisions? And let's be clear, you're not the key employee, and I would argue that anyone in collections doesn't count either. If you are starting or could start from scratch, who would you involve in the process of deciding what digitization your collection requires to play a role in the Extended Specimen Network? How would you create a team of leaders to champion your digital tools and the manpower required to make them functional and sustainable? This is my answer. I'm pretty sure everyone has heard something to the effect of people only care about what they know. If we step out of the collection silo and involve other perspectives, we will probably end up with a more successful and sustainable digital project that supports the extended specimen, and others will understand what we are trying to accomplish with our collections data, and probably even think of more cool stuff we could be doing. But how do you begin? Who at your museum will take up your call for participation in the Extended Specimen Network? How can you convince others that this is important and useful to them as well as you? My guess is that your museum's mission statement can help. This word cloud was generated from the mission statements of 100 natural history institutions. The ESN promises to stimulate new avenues of investigation, expedite existing ones, provide an enhanced resource for making science-based policy decisions, and to serve as an effective tool to educate and inform broad and diverse audiences about biodiversity and data science with significant potential to engage, educate, and empower the next generation of biodiversity data stewards, researchers, and data users. None of that seems like a hard sell to any natural history museum board or leadership team. So maybe you should start with your mission statement. Know your museum's mission statement. It is quite possible that it is your most important tool for getting the support you need to participate in the ESN and strive for quality data. In addition to your mission statement, I think it pays to know the American Association of Museums core standards. In particular, that there is a call to demonstrate a commitment to providing the public with physical and intellectual access to the museum and its resources. What better way to meet these core standards than with a publicly accessible collection catalog linked to external resources that allows anyone with an internet connection to explore the museum's resources and their connection to the world? So ask yourself, is your museum's collection data publicly accessible? Is it linked to other publicly accessible resources? And remember, publicly accessible doesn't mean, yes, we have pretty photos of our exhibit specimens on our website. We are striving for intellectual accessibility and all of the dynamic components. Could a student somewhere query your data, download the results, and use them to kick off a scientific inquiry? Could they find publications with a click, or do they have to search Google Scholar for a less than unique reference like Lyson et al. 2016? Would someone editing Wikipedia be able to use an object in your collection or its related information as a reference? If you were starting or could start from scratch, think about how you would design your system so that you are meeting the needs of both your community as set forth in your museum's mission statement and the Extended Specimen Network. And remember, the ESN calls for links with associated extended data. While we definitely should be thinking about links to GenBank accessions or related specimens in other collections, some of that is out of our control because the related resource does not offer the ability to link, or it isn't possible to definitively determine that GenBank accession is really related to your collection item. Let's look at stuff we can control and a potential public resource that many natural history museums love to hate: Wikipedia. Wikipedia allows for long definitions of terms you are probably using in your CMS. Every reference to this web address makes it pretty clear where you mean, as opposed to the million different ways you or anyone entering data might spell Doña Ana County, New Mexico. I hope that everyone can see the potential of using an open resource like Wikipedia as a method of standardizing the data among disparate collection databases. Don't like Wikipedia? Use Getty Thesaurus or Wikidata. The idea is that using these open resources lets others know exactly what you mean. And don't stop with geography. People are also available. The real beauty of Wikipedia and Wikidata is that you can add the people. Even better, the Wiki community can add people for you. Wikidata identifiers are being used by Bloodhound Tracker to create new ways of visualizing individual researcher contributions to museum collections. Your link to these resources means that communities searching your collection data can branch out to learn more about the people who collected, prepared, and identified those specimens. And not only the specimens in your collection, but specimens at other institutions connected to those specimens by the collectors, preparators, and identifiers. Speaking of identifications, what about taxonomy? Connecting your identifications to taxa and public resources means everyone knows exactly what you mean and helps to avoid the many possible misspellings or alternate taxon names you might mean. Managed taxon authorities like the World Register of Marine Species and the Paleobiology Database can be especially useful, but they're not always comprehensive and often not possible to edit. The advantage of Wikipedia and Wikidata is the ability to add and edit resources and the fact that others can help you to create the information you need. And for those of you who have sworn you would never use something that can be edited by anyone, I suggest you dig into these resources. Wikipedia's policies and guidelines are developed by the Wiki community to describe best practices, clarify principles, resolve conflicts, and otherwise further the goal of creating a free, reliable encyclopedia. From the 5-pillar summary of these policies, I've selected 2 that I think everyone will find instructive. First, Wikipedia is an encyclopedia. It's not meant for personal propaganda or advertisement, and when such is discovered, it is removed. Second, authoritative sources are what makes Wikipedia work. An article without references gets a warning banner and may end up being taken down. There are a surprising number of people who are passionate about Wikipedia and also some very specific topics. They monitor their areas of interest and remove information that isn't properly supported by reference material. So what's holding you back from using this fairly amazing public resource to help improve the quality of your collection's data? You or someone you work with could be one of those passionate people participating in a community of knowledge linking. Why not pay an intern to learn to edit wikis and help make the encyclopedia work for you? The museum collections and the community they are meant to serve. Writing for Wikipedia teaches all sorts of excellent research and writing skills. Feel free to take a look at stuff I have written or edited. Still not convinced? Meet Siobhan. More importantly, check out her Orchid ID profile. If you wonder what kind of people contribute to Wikipedia, she will show you, and I think you will be impressed. She also has advice for crowdsourcing and making meaningful wiki editing projects. I suggest you share her with your education department. In my personal experience, the many voices of a community generally lead to a better outcome. Don't hoard the management of your collection data like a dragon on a pile of gold. Let others help you. There are people who want to help. But let's not forget, for many, volunteering is not an option, and paid work builds resumes and feeds families. I'll circle back to the ESN and human infrastructure. Managing a collections management system with the goal of participation in the extended specimen network requires people. And my last reading. This slim chapter, only 3 pages, questions our authority over all of the information in the collections database. The author asks us to consider who, beyond the walls of the museum, might use the information it contains and how we might make it more inclusive. Could we allow outsiders to participate in creating our part of the extended specimen network? It's one thing to let people take a copy of the data and do stuff with it, but quite another to let people have a say in the data we present. But, as the author points out, making database systems more inclusive maximizes our investment of populating and sustaining them by making the information more useful, both internally and externally. She also notes that there is incredible potential for stakeholders outside the museum to contribute to museum information capacity building through tagging schemes, authority to enter specific fields, or by adding emotional comments and multimedia responses. She challenges us to create databases that are culturally responsive. I can feel the eye rolls, but hear me out. The recent IMLS CARES funding opportunity called for high-impact projects that will use appropriate existing data sets to address the needs of the community and our target audiences and to provide shareable results. And the Extended Specimen Network requires that collection database interfaces be redesigned to both attract and facilitate use by a broader user base if we are to take full advantage of the rich data content and broad relevance of the network. What better way to meet these kinds of needs than with the help of the community we are supposed to be serving? And now I'll circle back to loving what you know. As long as collection data remains mostly hidden from the public or only available through sources such as GBIF and iDigBio, we are not properly serving our local community. The people who sustain our institutions with their taxes, tuition, memberships, and entrance fees also deserve a voice in the information we present about our collections. And as they get to know the collections, it is more likely they will appreciate their worth and the funding required to maintain them. Your associates in education, exhibits, and development will probably enjoy this reading as well and might be helpful in developing tools and finding funds to pay for them and the people necessary to develop and sustain them. And then I've tacked this on. This reading is not about a museum collection data management, but it struck me that even here in a book about trails, I found support for the Extended Specimen Network. Near the end of the book, the author makes a left turn into the internet and its resemblance to the physical trails we create to take us places, and the ways in which they branch and fork and sometimes turn back on themselves. He acknowledges that on each successive level of path-making, knowledge is accrued and the world becomes easier to navigate. But new paths must be constantly marked out in order to simplify the vast wilderness of older paths into something humans can manage. Are we willing to create some new paths, map and manage them over time? If it will make our collections meaningful to the community, I think the answer is yes, because we are funded by the community. And if we aren't seen as relevant, funding will be cut. I would like to thank everyone who's been involved in the development of the Extended Specimen Network concept. You are forward-thinking and added fuel to my fire. All of my co-conspirators at Arctos, you guys get the concept of the ESN and are a wonderful community to be a part of. The New Mexico Museum of Natural History and Science for taking the leap to start their node of the ESN. And you, thank you for listening, and I hope that I will have interesting conversations with all of you in the future.